Hello, friends! You guessed it right. Rising Signs, we're back. I'm Joe Lupton, and as always, my partner in crime,
Matthew Lavery. What is going on, Sign family? Jojo, look at you.
Look at you.
Unbelievable.
I'm doing great, man. How are you holding up?
Fantastic, brother. Nothing to complain about. The worst is behind us. I'm always looking forward. You know the way it is. It's nothing but positive, nothing but good vibes. Honestly, besides missing this podcast on a regular basis, back to the hustle, back to the grind. And you, please share with us.
Listen, you know what? Business is good. We just gotta find some stuff to build signs with. That's really our biggest problem is it's hard to find stuff. So how are you finding stuff up there in the Great White North?
You know what? It's an industry issue. And I think every person that we've talked to, it's the exact same thing. The work is there, but getting the materials to do the work, it's not impossible, but we're at that point where we have to be cautious of timelines. We have to be conscious of the costing of things too, because the costing of a lot of this material has shot up through the roof. So another industry problem is people that have quoted on jobs 2 years ago that are now in manufacture them. They're going based on their quotes that they did 2 years ago. And unless the client is at an understanding that, things have changed, the price of jobs have gone up or down depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's nutty. The life cycle of so many components, aluminum being one of them, it's been wild, and people have gotten pretty frustrated. But at least here in the States, the life cycle has kind of been detrimentally messed with, when it comes to recycling and scrapping and processing and it going through the mill. So many of these employees, whether they didn't have work then or whether they got unemployment. So none of these workers are coming back, right? So none of the scrap is getting to the recycling centers, which isn't getting to processing, which isn't getting to mills, which then isn't getting to, all of the other people providing the zillions of components that are made with aluminum that have to do with signage. But you know what? I think what's beautiful is mostly everybody kind of knows where we are right now.
I agree.
And I think everyone, even throughout the life cycle of the sale of a sign, is kind of warming up to the idea. It's like, listen, our ability to make some crazy timeline demands, it's just not there anymore, which is great in one way that it allows a lot of people in the equation, whether it's sign fabricators or people providing raw materials, or whether it's, brokers or specifiers, to be a lot more intentional and methodical about how and what they do and how the design is implemented, which I think is great. We're going to see some expansion because it's an opportunity for some more of that creative spark to come back into signage. At least that's my positive spin and outlook on it. Right?
Joe, as always, you, my friend, are always a book of knowledge and you inspire everybody. And I think that's probably 90% of the reasons why our viewers come back is just for your inspirational thoughts and your knowledge on the sign industry, because it's always been profound. I don't think you give yourself enough credit for how profound you speak about the sign industry.
Listen, I don't need my head to explode mid-podcast. All right. I appreciate your kind compliments. Thank you, my friend. So we have a sponsor of sorts for this here podcast, don't we?
We do. So as some of our viewers know, it wasn't too long ago that we participated in the ISA Sign Expo, which is as everybody knows, our amazing friends and family at the International Sign Association. They kind of went through a lot of what we are going through ourselves at SAC, which of course is the Sign Association of Canada. And because of COVID, we've had to make a lot of changes. A lot of the events, a lot of the expos, a lot of the road shows that used to take place regularly, they either got canceled or they got changed, or we had to adapt to doing the online, the virtual aspect of things. And not that it's been bad, because it's been like everything else that you just said. It's been a learning experience, and a lot of those tools, a lot of that learning, we've actually implemented now into our everyday lives. So part of what we're doing today, we are sponsored by the Sign Association of Canada, a virtual night out at the Boxies. For all those who don't know, the Boxies stands for the best of Canada's sign industry. And this is an event that takes place every year. And it's basically to recognize the men, the women, and the shops in the Canadian sign industry for the work that they've done throughout the year.
So
So that's what we're doing today.
cool, man. Well, just if we've got a second, why don't you tell me a couple of the memorable awards that exist at the Boxies, just so I can understand what kind of stuff we're looking at.
So every year, again, it's open to everybody in the Canadian sign industry to vote on it. But we have awards for the Young Professional of the Year, the Sign Professional of the Year, the Best Company, Sign Company of the Year, as well as numerous awards for all different things, whether it's car wrapping, whether it's illuminated pylon signs, storefront signs, literally almost every category that you could think of, there's an award for it. So it honestly, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You've won one of these, right?
I did. Oh, here, I'll get off camera. Lucky for me, going back, 2019, I actually received the Young Professional of the Year. Wow, thanks for bringing that up. You got a good memory, eh? A few years ago now.
Not really. I have a horrible memory. I just care about you, Matt. That's all.
I really appreciate that. But yeah, and not only that, I believe the last person to have won that was also a near dear friend of mine, Lee Murphy. And again, a lot of these awards they're amazing because there's a lot of people out there, and both SAC and the ISA, that deserve recognition for the work that they do put into the industry. And again, it's just that one time of the year that we can highlight those people and those shops who continue to support and to continue to evolve our industry to what it is today. So it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I love it. You know, the one of the things that continues to be a passion of mine is finding ways to encourage people to be more connected in the sign family, as you say, so that we can keep a flow of new, fresh minds involved. More often than not, especially young people in the industry feel on an island, you know, which is part of the reason that we do things like this, so we can continue to network all of our brothers and sisters in the sign family. So now moving forward, we can introduce our guest, right?
No, not yet. I got a couple more points that I want to bring up, Jojo, because when Francois comes on here, you know what? We could, but I know Francois is in the background, and this guy is an extremely busy guy, a well-known guy. But no, there's a couple points I wanted to bring up just for our viewers out there. I want to kind of get the promotional side of things out of the way, so that when Francois is in here, we could just quiz him on everything that he knows about signs. So let's get right into it. Again, these are just a few speaking points. We are back again with another virtual night out at the Boxies, which is, of course, what we're trying to promote today. This is going to be presented by the Sign Association of Canada and Sign Media Magazine. This year's virtual show will be coming live from downtown Toronto in the heart of the Yonge and Dundas Square. Jojo, while you're doing this, if you want to look it up, because I know you like your geography, the Yonge and Dundas Square in downtown Toronto is kind of like our little New York. It's kind of like our little Tokyo. It is full of digital signage all around the square. So the city of Toronto actually has designed this platform for signage. And for anybody who's interested in signage or involved like you and I, when you come to Toronto, I highly recommend you go check out Yonge and Dundas Square. The award show this year will be taking place at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that is going to be on September 24th. What is new? We've added 4 educational sessions, which starts on September 22nd and the 23rd. And there's a little bit of everything for everybody that's in the industry. We are going to be discussing branding, rebuilding businesses, looking at lessons learned from the brightest city in the world. And to cap it off, we also have a cool little game show, which we can get into after, called the Canadian Rap Star Games. I didn't even say that right, and I'm the one producing it. There is a small registration fee. It's $25, but that includes the virtual night out, and that includes the 4 educational sessions. So again, like we've been saying, a lot of this is going to be put online. So it's like a webinar, it's like a Zoom, but it's not a Zoom because we've taken it to the next level. We have an amazing venue, amazing videographers that are putting everything together. And then just quickly, let me get into the events that we are going to be running. We have a branding reboot, which is going to be sponsored by Gemini Canada. And this again is going to be for the minds of some of the most recognizable brands to gain never shared before insights on how discussions from colors and messagings to materials and installation, the impact on how a brand comes from the life from our customers. These brand giants won't disappoint you in sharing what they need to know about the direction of branding in a post-COVID era. Next, we have the Rebuilding Small Businesses, which is going to be sponsored by Pattison Sign Group. Small businesses are the lifeblood of the Canadian economy. Earlier this year, Pattison's Media Limited announced the launch of Amplify Canada, which is a $16 million campaign to support local businesses in Canada, highlighting the importance of our communities in the Canadian economy. So we're asking everybody to join us in the chat with sign industry executives from across Canada and see what role they have used in supporting local businesses post-COVID. And then from there, we also have from the brightest city in the world, branding Las Vegas with Yesco, sponsored by Sloan LED. Susan from Sloan LED will be going to Las Vegas virtually, of course, by tapping into the stories of Jeff Young, the senior vice president of Yesco, and the star of Undercover Boss. 100 years of stories that Susan cannot wait to unpack. So I encourage you, do not miss out on that. And then, of course, we have Canada's Next Rap Stars rap competition, which is sponsored by EM Plastics and the amazing people at Arlon. This is a virtual game show that we have put together with 4 teams, 12 different shops, 12 different vendors, which we had 1 Dodge Hellcat. We had 1 window door glass, and each one of these contestants had to work together as a team to have 1 car door wrapped, 1 door handle wrapped, and apply their skills to perforate a vinyl on a window. So that was quite entertaining. We pulled that off in a very limited amount of time, but it was inspiring for all that was involved. And again, we encourage everybody to register for these events and check it all out because a lot of people have put a lot of work into it. And therefore, I guarantee it's going to be well worth the registration fee and the time you invest to come watch it.
So with that $25 registration fee for the virtual night out, you know, the night of the event is like, does an Uber show up with a cocktail and a cheese and cracker platter or something for you?
I mean, ideally that would be nice. Ideally that would be nice. I don't think we've gotten that far as an association, seeing as this is our 2nd year. Now, don't get me wrong, Jojo. If this was something that we'd be doing from here on until the next 10 years, I would strongly, and me being on the board and our guest Francois is the chair, I would strongly agree that that would need to be done.
Great
black
idea,
tie,
right?
red carpet, everyone's driveway, Uber Eats, you name it. Maybe a wine sponsor.
Black tie up top, basketball shorts on the bottom, right?
Of course. You don't even want to see what I'm wearing right now, Jojo. You do not want me to stand up.
Well, listen, it's a PG program, so we definitely can't do that.
We'd have to put like a big censored LED board there. I'm pretty sure.
All right.
So
we've made all of our announcements, right? We've made all of our announcements.
We've made all of our announcements, Jojo. I'm done.
About our wonderful sponsor for the podcast. Thank you so much for the the virtual night out and the Boxy Awards. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited. It sounds good.
Always. So now what?
We got a legend, right? It sounds like we've got a legend. I mean,
a legacy member again.
Legacy.
Do we have to introduce this guy?
I think so. I think we do.
We have to go. Like, I do have some notes here, right? I do.
That's part of well, listen, you know what? Not to apply any pressure here, but typically there's like some background music that, you know, kicks on at some point, like right now. And then Matt does a really dramatic introduction for somebody. And go.
Joe, I've missed doing this. So you know what? Let's pull this off together. Friends and family, Sign family, to all of our amazing people that are currently watching us. Let's get started and introduce this next guest. Our next guest brings over 27 years of sales and management experience within the sign industry and the Canadian Sign Association. He is currently serving his third term as a past president and his 10th year as part of the board of directors. Prior to joining the national board, he served over 7 years on the board of AKI, which is the Quebec Sign Association. He is also a part of the ISA Affiliates Council Steering Committee until 2022, so his time is running out. He is the Senior Vice President and Business Developer at Montreal Neon and is responsible for expanding business within North America. He has played many roles and has been a father figure to a lot of the young professionals that have come in and out of the industry, not to mention a mentor to myself and to a lot of other young professionals. This next guest spends 94% of his time on the links in the summer. I do not want to compare him to the great Phil Mickelson, but I know Francois can hit I believe it's a 3-wood, 240 yards from the rough, whereas Phil Mickelson says that he can hit one 230 yards from the rough. Our next guest is one putt away from a birdie. I want to introduce the one and the only Francois Lussier from Montreal Neon.
Woo! Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, guys. It's overwhelming, but thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, Francois, typically I was waiting for the ridiculously exaggerated comment. So typically it'll be something like, and Francois is arguably the inventor of the channel letter. Let's hear it for Francois. That's typically something that Matt says. I was missing. He's
not that today, old. You know what, Jojo? In our defense, Francois, in all the years he's been doing this, he has a pretty squeaky clean track record sheet. I went on LinkedIn. I went on Facebook. I tried to call people. Not too many people were willing to give me the nitty and gritty of Francois. He's a black tie, bow tie, tuxedo type of guy, very clean image. So there's not much I could pull up on the guy.
You had to go back to yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think you have to search, like, you know, as we interview a legacy member, Matt, I think you have to go back and you got to call the people in the yellow pages, because the internet doesn't really do you all the good you need anymore, right? So
hey, Francois is not that old. First of all, look at the guy. He looks in better condition than you and I put together. Hey, let's be honest.
Well, he's got more hair than me for sure. Look at that.
Look at that.
He just Francois.
You don't want to see the behind my head, because there's a nice little hole there. So.
Well, my whole head's the hole, right? So you know what? In seeing the bio that Matt sent over here, there's a lot of key executive positions that you've held here. I'd love to know where the story started in the sign industry. How did you end up here? And you know, one of the things, part of the beautiful story, almost everybody's like, well, I didn't plan to be here, right? Exactly. And then there's usually a pivotal moment that somehow draws you in and holds you here for a little bit of time, and then it turns up. So how did you end up taking that first?
It's a funny story, actually. You know, I remember my mom worked in a retail store and I was not working, and I was going from job to job and in sales though, but I was trying to get better income in sales. So I sold furniture, I sold pool equipment anyways. And then for a while I was no job and just hanging around with my friends and I don't want to work yet. Anyways, at one point my mom says, yeah, okay, you got to get working. Come on, let's go. I said, okay, fine. So anyways, I'm in her store. I open the newspaper. I go down the sales ad and I go down and see a job at the time it was Clone Leon, which is now Patterson. And I put my finger on it. I said to my mom, I'm going to get a job right here. I picked up the phone from that retail store. I called in for an interview, and the rest is history. I got the job. And then I've been doing this for all this time. So I started like that. And I worked for Patterson for about 5 years. So prior to moving on to other companies. But yeah, that's how I started.
So were you selling signs for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess a rookie salesperson at the time. I was going in to measure a single face replacement, the little retail corner store, and then doing my own, you do your own request and your own measurements and your own drawing requests and, one after the other. So like they will always give me the small stuff that, someone had to do. And I started that way. I also remember driving at night a lot was one of my key thing where I would see a sign that was not lighting. The next day I'll be calling the customers. And I build a lot of business that way too, right? Because their sign is not lighting at night. So that's a little bit how that whole thing started and went on from there. So
that's quite interesting. So Francois, you jumped right into sales.
Yes, I started in sales.
A lot of the people that Joe and I have interviewed in the past, they usually have a track record of starting from the bottom and working their way up. Not saying that sales isn't something that would be considered like a higher position, but you do hear a lot of these people that have started at installation or they started working at a machine or whatnot. So it's actually really cool that you went right into the sales in something that you had no clue what you were doing. Like signage wasn't a thing that you were researched on. You just jumped into it and started doing it. Wow.
Correct. And I took upon myself to spend a lot of time in the manufacturing facility, right? So everywhere I go, I'd be in the plant. And people with the production manager would say, get out of here. And I know I'm spending time in here. I want to see how this sign is made. I want to see how you guys are doing it. So I've learned a lot from spending a lot of time in the shop, learning the terminology, products, and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's
I don't. Sorry, Joe.
No, I was gonna say that's the only way to do it, And when I started out, and it's really interesting. I've mentored a lot of people who have started into sales and in the end of raw materials, right? And everybody's always worried about what they know, and I said, listen, sign guys love to share what they do. If you don't know what's going on, go up to a fabricator and say, why did you do this way? Or how did they love to tell you? They'll teach you anything. There isn't this secret craft, right? And it's one of those things where it's you have to just take those little tiny steps. Don't you can stick your head in a book for all of time, but talking to those guys who've been building signs for 30 years, it's a wealth of knowledge. So I love that part of the story.
Yeah, good.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Francois, obviously you better than everybody else knows the reason why we're doing this podcast is to promote the upcoming Boxies. You've been the chair for the Boxies now for going on how many years?
It's the 30 years as the chair of the Boxies. Yeah. So
unbelievable. In that time, what has been maybe let's start easy. What has been one of the most memorable moments of holding that position or in the transition that you've seen over the year that that you can remember of the Boxies?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to start by when I joined the board at the Sign Association of Canada, coming from the Quebec Sign Association. There was no, there was no celebration. So everybody basically, went to the trade show, and suppliers left with 10, 12 guys, women, and went out to a dinner. Their customers. And we're an association, but I found that people were dissociating. Now you go to the trade show, then everybody went on their own. So I said, we have to do something, and I proposed that we would do a gala. So the Quebec Sign Association, we had an actual real gala. So we brought that I brought that to the board, and the idea, grew, and we came up with our own gala show. Like, as you know, Matthew, you've been there. So it grew year to year to year to year, where now, when it was actually not virtual, we'll sell out pretty quickly. We have like 20, 50 people in the room, and the production of the gala just got better and better. It became an event where everybody got together. Now, if you weren't at the gala, there was very few distributors or suppliers that would then take the customers. They would actually buy a table, be at the table, and be together. And that was to me very important, because how can you not be together and celebrate your industry if everybody goes on their own? So that brought that together, which is great. And obviously, everybody got thrown a curveball. With the science show not happening, the gala not happening. So we had to turn around quickly. And I remember sitting at my desk going, we have to do something. So I said, let's do a virtual show. At the beginning, people, obviously, board members and others were like, oh my God, that's scary. How are we going to do this? So we turned around, and I remember calling Sign Media Canada, our partners. And I said, guys, you do a lot of educational session. You do a web-based presentation. Can we not get together and put this virtual gala together? So they kind of agreed. We had discussions, and last year we had our first virtual gala because we had no other choice. And I wanted to also make sure we keep the conversation with distributors, suppliers, sign manufacturers, and that we still have that conversation. Even though we had COVID and everybody was in their homes, I thought it was important to really keep on trying to stay together. And I think last year was a great success from everybody involved. And this year we're trying to really, do a replica of that, but make that even better. So we've got, like you mentioned, educational sessions. For example, we got Brian Leon, the president of Choice Hotel Canada, that'll be part of this discussion. You mentioned Jeff Young, which I met a couple of times, is a fantastic gentleman. So I think there's going to be a lot of great, interesting content coming out of our educational session at the Boxies. So yeah, looking forward to it. But this is how that all came together.
Joe, I don't know if you had something to say, but Francois, I did not know that story. I've known you for years and years and years, and I did not know that you were pretty much the mastermind behind the gala. One thing I think everybody on the screen will attest to, COVID separated a lot of us. It put people back in their houses. It put people back in lockdown. And it never became more clear how important it is for people to stick together, to come together, not only just for work or for the money or for their careers, but to celebrate. And that's what Francois mentioned, was the gala was put together not just so that people could go to the expo, but then everybody gets together and they could celebrate all the work or everything that they've done to get us to that expo. And I think that's really cool, because I did not know the history behind it. And here we are today. That gala still goes on. The registrations are still growing. And like you said, now we're in a virtual world and we're still continuing to do that. And it's at the utmost of importance that this continues and this tradition continues, because we need to continue to grow as an industry together, not as separate shops. And little events like this, Sign Expo Canada, the ISA Expo, they allow us, they give us that one platform a year for all of us to travel, to get together, to shake hands, to introduce ourselves, and to grow our network. So thank you, Francois. I did not know that, and that's a blessing to you.
Well, thank you, Matt. But always keep in mind that an idea has to be shared, whether it's good or bad.
100%.
So
100%.
if you have an idea, if you keep it inside, it's not going to go anywhere. If you share it, it could be good, it could be bad. Sometimes they're good, but I have to mention that obviously the team behind this, like the staff at the Sign Association, led by Corinne, they're doing an amazing job putting this together. People at Sign Media helped us a lot. Now that you know that we're also managed by ISA. ISA's got great minds, great people, led by Laurie, and they're really also helping us out a lot moving forward. They've were tremendous help going through this pandemic, for our association. So I want to make sure I mention that nothing is done alone. It's just an idea. And then you know as well as I do the implication that you have, Matt, and everybody together. So it's a team effort. It's not one person. And I want to always make sure that people realize that it was just an idea, but we were able to put it together. So that's good.
Joe, look at this guy. That's why he's the legacy member, eh?
Yeah.
He speaks so well, eh? So well. Jojo.
I'm really curious, Francois, hearing that you kind of started that idea. I've kind of been bouncing things back and forth. We have, if we went back to the beginning of when all of this pandemic stuff started, we would never have predicted that we would still be doing virtual things right now. We would have never predicted. They'd be like, it'll be over soon, right? So if we're to suppose that we're gonna get better at these virtual connections, what have you been brainstorming on? What do you think the next steps are at expanding our virtual connections to make, because like I can tell you that, from being a participator in the ISA virtual show, and of course me and Matt did a wonderful podcast, and it was funny. We got I guess we got podcast bombed by Lori. She just kind of showed up, which was kind of cool.
That's
Um,
cool.
and it wasn't even a fraction of the typical turnout that we get at that physical trade show,
Yeah.
and really finding a way to entice and bring people in. And just before you answer that question, I was thinking about your gala, and Matt was talking about the Boxy Awards and all that. When people get recognized, it creates excitement. It creates a commotion. Like when we talk about
Yeah.
the something that Matt and I always talk about is the ISA elite class, right? And
Yep.
it sounds cool and it's fun, and you get to meet young people. But for me, it was like one of those things. It was like, hey, it was another box that I could check on the steps I'm taking in my career in the sign industry, right? So, one of the thoughts in my mind are how do we connect these dots of that recognition and those accolades and try to put more life into those virtual connections? So that was a long-winded way to ask that question, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what our next steps are for stuck in some more of these virtual things.
Well, I think that it's a difficult question because first of all, let's hope it doesn't last that long, and let's like we go back to life very soon. But if it was the case, for example, this year we there's a new platform that we're using to make it a bit more easier to connect and to talk to each other. So we have a better presentation, a better podcast, or if you want a better presentation, a better show. So we've got that going. We've tried to do. We've had live music also last year. We really try to put people together, but I think that what we do at the base, okay, with the Sign Association and getting people together. If you look at our young professional network that Matt talked about, where you got 35 and under people, like part of that, and Joe and Matthew, you've been through. You just talked about you went through the leadership at ISA, and that's bringing people together. You look at Breaking Barriers, women in the industry that we've got going. It's very strong. It's amazing. The young professional network, you do so much of these younger people. I really believe that the base, it's a long question in a sense in my answer to a virtual event, how it should be like. But I think that at the base, when we all these people connected and you knew our ideas and younger people involved, they're actually a lot more inclined to the new technology and what could be done on a virtual event that would be fantastic and great to do and different. This is where the idea come from, and this is where it's going to happen. Now, what that actually looks like, it's hard for me to establish that. And like I say, this with all due respect, I hope that we go back to a real event real soon, like next year in September. We're supposed to have our show again. Let's hope it happens and our gala is actually live. But yeah, it's hard to see how you do that and you bring more into this and what it's like. But there is recognition, which is good. Like you said, too, it's important to recognize people. So that's why we recognize the young professional network, and we recognize the women in the industry. We recognize, and believe me, women in the industry is fantastic. Like on our board now, we got a bunch of women. I love it. Like it's more and more women are involved, and I think they're so important in being part of all that. So, I think we're doing the great thing. What it's going to look like in the future, it's hard to tell, and we're always going to try and make this better. And we've got the help of like ISA on that too, where they come in with their experience and try to guide us a little bit on where we should go next regarding the virtual event. So, but yeah, staying connected is important. This is one way of doing it. And with the future, what it's going to look like, I don't have the insight on that. But like I said, let's hope it doesn't happen next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to. When all of this started, I continued to brainstorm, because once, and I have to believe we're getting back to a typical form of interaction for all of these things at some point in time, right? And I'm just going to keep thinking that way no matter what. But I also want to do my due diligence to glean whatever wisdom I can from what this situation has forced us to do, because whilst I believe a lot of it has not been as effective as what our typical interactions would be, I know there's going to be a golden nugget here that there's something we can pull away and continue to utilize as time goes on. And that's That's really the thing that I'm trying to, as much as it's like we're trying to do something, we want to do something to stay connected. We're doing everything we can, right? But it feels sometimes like this is the second fiddle, right? But I think we have to look deeper to find out, okay, what are the things we can pull out of the second fiddle and maintain indefinitely, even outside of a pandemic? Because I think there's definitely value. There's been connections that Matt and I have made, for example, and opportunities that we have had because of this, that post pandemic, we're still going to find ways to hold on to those gems and utilize them moving forward to continue to grow the network. And that's, I guess, maybe this is a public service announcement to everybody who's watching the podcast. Like, sure, this seems frustrating for a lot of people, right? I think it's really important that you take those moments whenever those days are good, that you exercise that positive attitude to really say, all right, what am I learning from this? What am I going to be able to pull out of this situation? Because, you looked at a problem, Francois, with everybody going out and being on their own, and you were able to take one idea and build something so beautiful that has become a huge thing now. And I think that's exactly what we can take in this opportunity, is we can look at these situations, these things that have been alternatives to what our typical is, and we can pull that gem out,
Yeah. I also think, like, for example, like your podcast that you're doing now, that should not stop. That's great stuff. I mean, you got to keep going, and, it should be at least 6 times a year type of thing or something like that, right? We have a guest on, and that actually keeps people interested. So maybe that will keep on going moving forward from this virtual world. And as you know, people have been zoomed out, I call it, but
zoomed out. Yes.
Well,
yes.
You're always on a Zoom call. So there you go. You imagine you're working in a sign shop, and then you get the gala, and you get the virtual event, and you're getting emails on social media, and then join, pay $25. Look at this. I mean, some people might be, oh my God, it's a virtual event. I got to sit in front of my computer. But, we were successful in getting those people together. And hopefully this year, there'll be the same thing. Registration's going well. And we have another event actually next week. It's sold out quickly. It's a golf tournament in Toronto. I mean, 104 golfers.
Yep.
And so that's happening, and then which is great. So these people that are there will be registering as well while we're at the golf course. Make sure everybody registers for the gala. But we'll stay from that. I hope things like that stay. I hope that there is some educational session that we can do online more and more with helps of suppliers, and keep promoting that aspect of things through virtually. Those podcasts were amazing and interesting. That type of idea could generate to something bigger that will last. I think that should stick around, and maybe we'll have a Sign Association of Canada podcast at one day. Who knows? But that would be cool.
Right. I kind of wanted to pull on a couple points. Number one name drop that we forgot. Always an important figure, and he's on our Boxy's task force. Ian McKenzie, another guy who continues to volunteer and put his footprint all over the sign industry in Canada and the US. My second point to what Francois said about the youth, I've always had a quote. I don't know if I've used it on this podcast, Joe. Creative minds make creative time. People often ask me, but how do you find all this time to do all this creative stuff? You're always coming up with new ideas and stuff like that. I make the time to be creative. And I don't think there's anything anybody can say in a 24-hour period of time where you can't put together 5 or 10 minutes to think of something or take initiative to start something new. And like Francois says, I am a firm believer. That's the reason why the Young Professionals Network, the ISA Elite program, is such a big thing, is because the industry essentially is going to be left in the hands of these young professionals. These young professionals that join the industry, that are being hired on a day-to-day basis into these jobs and taking over roles of some of the legacy members. It's on us to have those creative ideas, implement them, and speak up about them. It's one thing to have an idea, but if you don't voice that idea, if you don't take the initiative to put it out there in the world, then that idea is just an idea, and it won't come into fruition until you do talk about it, bring it up to a board, bring it up to somebody, and then implement those ideas. And again, like Francois was saying, like I don't like to say the senior members, but COVID was very difficult for a lot of the elder people that are involved in the association, that they had to change their ways and they had to adapt to the new technology and learn how to use Zoom or learn how to change your everyday things to now interact with people, which is not something they were used to. And us young people, it was common to us jumping onto the internet or going onto a chat room, or that stuff that it wasn't hard for us to adapt. So when somebody said, "Oh, come onto a Zoom chat," I mean, a couple clicks of the mouse, all of a sudden, all of us are on the screen. Whereas the older people are always, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is my mic on? Is my camera on? Like, am I on the right platform? Can you send that email again?" And again, they adapted and they overcome that. So it's a testament to, where the generation was to where we are today, and bridging that gap. And I'm pretty sure that's what Francois was alluding to, was that gap needs to continue to be bridged. But it takes all of us. It doesn't just take the higher ups or the new people. It takes everybody together to come up with these ideas and carry them into the future. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I like your quote, Matt. It's really ironic. It's really ironic that I read something super similar like a week ago that really resonated with me. And it doesn't. It's worded similarly. It's really what you're saying is all about mindset. Really, It's about making a decision to do something and doing it. Like, it's easy to say, "Oh, I don't have time to work out. I got to take the kids to school, and then I got to go to work, and I got to drive my." And I might be paraphrasing because this isn't my quote at all. But it says, "You don't find the strength and willpower you need, you make it." Right. And so really, really similar to what you said. Right. And I think it's a nugget of encouragement to say, like, listen, no matter what situation you're in life, how much you have or don't have, or how comfortable life is or how uncomfortable it is, if you want something, if you want to do something, make a decision and just do it. It's really all that it boils down to, right? So everybody's got those excuses, everybody's got the reasons, but all it takes is a little bit of a plucky attitude, and you can get at anything that you want.
Yeah, the old saying that when there's a will, there's a way, right? And so, and it even goes back to everything in life. You're right, Joe. Like even in sales, going after an account, example, right? And you want to do signs for this company. Well, you're sitting there thinking, okay, I want to do signs for XYZ big national company. You get up and you go after it. And I remember one of my boss at one point said, "You're kind of crazy. That's a big, you're trading a big chunk of business here, or, like a big customer." I said, "Yeah, of course." And then, "Can I go?" Yes, I got on the plane. I went. Anyway, I won't tell you what it is. It's not the place or time, but it's been 20 years of service to that customer. And, being one of, let's say, 12 companies in North America that do that. So it became with an idea and a dream to say, okay, I can do this. There's a will, there's going to be a way. And if you work hard and you persist and you don't give up, at one point, if, the harder you work, the luckier you get. That's another quote if you want to have quotes. But that's what I think. Like you got to go after what you think is obtainable and go for it.
Francois, I just felt a nugget of inspiration. I think we need to have another podcast just centered around sales, because like you fired up all of the things that excite me with that little bit, to like resonate with what you just said. And then we'll probably have to wrap up is, I can't tell you how many times there have been doors I've knocked on where the guys say, "You know what? We haven't bought anything. Why do you keep showing up?" I said, "I just want you to know that if I'm going to lose, it's because they're going to work harder and they're going to last longer." I said, "I'm going to be here for the next 20 years and I'm going to keep showing up. One of these days, someone's going to screw up, and guess who's still going to be here? It's going to be me, and I'm going to get a sale." I said, if I'm going to lose, it's because you're going to outwork me, period. So anyways, we won't jump into it because it'll be a whole other sales.
It's true.
I mean, I've burned a lot of red lights coming out with a signed contract from a customer. So, I mean, I'm so excited. So I can talk about this for a long time, but anyways.
Right.
It's that passion. And you could tell from a guy like Francois, he speaks from a place of passion, and that passion, and it doesn't matter what career you do, that passion and that drive will get you to where you want to go. And again, that pretty much sums up Francois. Francois' involvement in the industry, Francois' career, Francois as a family man and as a friend. He's full of passion, and he's brought us and he's helped bring the sign industry to 2020. So, or 2022. So, Francois, I mean, on behalf of me, and I know everybody else, thank you for the work that you put in, the endless hours, the volunteering that you put in to the association to make it what it is today. For people like myself coming up and the people that are behind me that are coming up, you paved that path for us to drive on. So we appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But I did it because I enjoyed it. I did it so that we were in a better place. The association was in a better place. That, like, I believe in that. So I kind of did it second fiddle because to do what I do because I believe in it and I enjoy it. So that's important as well. You have to enjoy what you do. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed my time. I spent a lot of time doing it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be that involved, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I did it just because I was passionate, like you said, and nothing else. So to be out here on this show with you guys is a great recognition. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invitation. It was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys get a little bit out of this. I mean,
Yes.
that's the important thing, that we move forward as a big unit. And Joe, I hope I meet you at ISA or soon in one of the shows, and we can have a beer together. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Joe loves beer.
I know.
Well, he like scotch.
Give me
scotch. A glass.
There you go. You have a nice single
Give
malt.
me some scotch. He likes his scotch.
There you
All
go.
right.
Awesome. Francois, thank you so much.
Okay, guys, you're welcome. Have a great day.
Au revoir.
You
Au
too,
revoir.
thank-
Yeah,
Au revoir.
see you at Expo.
Au revoir. Bonsoir, mes amis.
All right, that's more language than I knew, Matt. You outworked me there.
You know what? We're in Canada. I do get to work with my French counterparts here and there. So it's very important to, I guess, brush up on the little things for the French speaking people. They appreciate it. So I'm not going to go out there and pretend like I know a lot of French, but I know a couple words, I guess you could say. But how good of a guest is that to have on?
Listen, I kind of wish we had more of an open topic, because as soon as he started kind of shifting gears and talking about sales, I was really excited by the context with which he was telling the story. So I think maybe in a future podcast, what we can do is we can have a more long forum conversation, and we can invite some various members from the world of sales to expand on that. Because I mean, that'd be fun for me, and then you'd easily be able to make fun of whatever impassioned, crazy things I say. So you'll have fun too. I wanted to kind of put a plug in here real quick.
Go ahead, bro.
Based on what Francois just said. So, well, not just said, he probably said it like 10 minutes ago, but he talked about, continuing things like this podcast, right? So for those of you who may watch or have watched any of the podcasts in the past, if you think you would be interested in being a guest, or you think you'd have an interesting topic, we would be open to suggestions. I don't know who you should send them to, but I'm going to do one of these, and I'm going to, Siri was talking, and I'm going to point to the bottom and say, Ellen's going to put somebody's email address or a link at the bottom where you can reach out to us, me, Matt, anybody on our team, to make a suggestion on a topic. Or if you think yourself or somebody else would be a great guest you could connect us with, I think we'd be really interested and open to hearing that.
Joe?
Yeah.
Are you letting our viewers know that we might be coming back for a few more episodes? Is that what this is all about?
Oh, it's my email. Oh, she put me on. So you can reach
personal email. And even if you just want to ask Joe a question or learn something about geography or playing the bass guitar, please email Joe Lucky Lupton below at luptonjoe@gmail.com. Go ahead.
Well,
I didn't pictures.
I was gonna say me, but I guess it's me. So awesome, man. Well, it was great seeing you. Kudos on the selection of guests. Again, I wish we could have we could have dived into the sales stuff a little more, but it was great. It was good stuff, and I'm happy that we were able to put this together and support the boxies and the virtual night out and all that stuff. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, like you just said, to cap that off. As you know, and I know the rest of Yorston crew knows, I took on sales as a new role just only a couple years ago, right in the midst of COVID. And jumping on what you said about Francois and his knowledge in sales, he's done a lot for me personally. and he didn't have to, taking me under his wing and teaching me a lot about how to conduct myself, or just how to be better at the sales. So I know he's a perfect candidate as, like we said, a mentor. Francois embodies what it is to be a mentor in our industry, a book of knowledge, his demeanor, the way he carries himself, the way he speaks. I think it would be awesome to have him back on again and just tap into that knowledge. But again, like everybody else, for everybody out there, please, please, please make it a point to go and register for a virtual night out at the Boxies. Again, it's September 22nd to the 24th. Register for all the educational events, the webinars, the night out at the Boxies. We have the Don Morgan golf coming up. Get yourself out there, get yourself involved, show your face. I promise you, it's always a good time. It's always for a good reason. And again, Yorston and Associates, Joe, let's not forget the amazing people at Yorston and Associates, Ellen and Brian behind these cameras that get this done for us. Thank both of you guys, and thank Yorston for allowing us to continue to use this platform, and obviously Spectra Science too, because that's who I represent. Joe, I love seeing your face, bro. I love seeing your face. I miss you.
I miss you too. I'm glad we were able to get together and do this. I'll ditto everything you said for the team at YNA and Brian and Ellen. That's a huge help. So this is a revival of Rising Signs. So again, it's been Matt and Joe with Rising Signs. Brian, can you hit the outro music for us?
Oh, love it, Joe. I love you, brother.